Jason Williamson, half of Sleaford Mods. How's it going, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm sound. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Hanging in there in these weird old times. It seems to, I'm trapped on loop in this kitchen and I'd quite like to get out. We're going to talk about, Jason, we're going to talk about your album, Spare Ribs.
Yeah, sure.
Mork and Mindy, Action Man and Cindy. I don't mess about. I make them kiss each other when my mum and dad go out. No messing, no curtain twitching, no stressing. I don't hang about. I get them down and dirty, then get them falling out, then get them flirty, get them throwing plates at each other, cause that's what it's all about. Now fuck off back to your own room. Well, go.
One of the lines in its opening track is, and we're also Tory tired and beaten by minds small. So I thought, of the current ruling elite, who do you think has the smallest mind?
It's hard to say, isn't it, really? I think that collectively they've all got very small minds. Because I don't really know the full weight of parliamentary, discourse and parliamentary, the day-to-day administration or the channels of how they get rid of people or why they've got rid of people. It's all very, I'd be guessing. But, yeah, it purposely looks like it's been legally reduced to a mound of absolute fucking arseholes for the purpose of fulfilling some very questionable ideologies. Do you know what I mean? And they've done this above board. They've done this with the support of the greater Conservative Party as well. So, I mean, it leads you to believe that this is done now as a process. This current political machine is over. It's done. But it will obviously carry on because the people are powerless. But I do believe, and I'm becoming even more convinced, that voting is, for the larger part, pretty useless.
So that's interesting because I've had arguments like that with people in the past that who don't want to vote don't vote, and the argument that holds the most weight there for me is that if by voting that can be interpreted as you giving consent to be governed in the way that we're governed, therefore, if you don't want to consent to that process, why vote? The thing that I often struggle with is just sort of apathy, not engaging. And I think if someone doesn't want to vote, but there's legitimate reasons behind that, then I support it. But when people are just rejecting the system out of hand or without thinking or considering it, I think that's what irritates me. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yes, yeah, very much so. And that's a very good point, Ollie. I think if you have really thought about your vote, regardless of whether other people think it's right or wrong, then, in a way that's justified because that's what the system offers. But with the quality of leadership from the opposition and, the kind of insights into what may happen in the next 2 to 3 years as regards the Labour Party, I'm inclined now to not vote at the next election. Do you know what I mean? I did believe in Jeremy Corbyn. I had a lot of doubt about him, and I did regrettably air that to a couple of people on a larger platform, and I wish I hadn't, But as regards Keir Starmer, as regards the ongoing centrist landscape that we've got from the opposition, I'm not interested. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to work. It's just going to carry on, providing a certain level of misery, depending on which party's in. You get more misery with the Conservatives, you just do. But you're still getting a similar thread with Labour,
Yeah, there's a couple of things there. Well, I'd like to talk to you about. We'll come to Keir Starmer later, and I have a question for you as well about that system. But I'm interested there what you were just saying there about things you didn't want to say on a larger platform about Corbyn. I mean, would you mind elaborating on that a bit? What is it that you regret?
I was a bit frustrated with his stance on Brexit. And I was a bit frustrated with the lack of noise coming from the Labour Party about the support for my side of it, which was Remain. I still truly think we shouldn't have left the EU. You know, it's on top of everything else. I mean, obviously we couldn't foresee the pandemic coming, but the country was kind of crippled, you know, before the pandemic anyway. I didn't think leaving the EU was the right thing to do. It was you know, it was encouraged on a lot of bent promises from the Leave campaign. You know, to you know, the people heading that, Johnson, Gove, absolute cons. Nobody in the right mind would support twats like that. They're fucking amateurs, you know. So I wanted I wanted another referendum, basically. A lot of people did, and I thought that Corbyn would be on the side of that. But obviously, he was pro leaving the EU, wasn't he? But for other sort of ideologies, and not some kind of nationalist bullshit. I don't know too much about it, but yeah, you know, that's the basis of it. But yes, that was the negative comments I made about Jeremy Corbyn was purely down to that, nothing else really.
It's interesting to hear you say that about the second referendum, because I felt that way as well. I felt that, you know, let's do it again, and maybe that way we can preserve our chances, and maybe we'll be able to stay in. And now we find, you know, the situation we find ourselves in now with, you know, Johnson getting that majority, and I feel almost a little bit culpable, because I feel like by having that position of, you know, let's run this back, let's do it again, I feel like that threw out any chance of, you know, it being a softer Brexit or like a compromise deal or something that leaves us quite closely aligned with the European Union. And I feel like the end product of that has been Johnson's version of it. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like that my and other people's support, I'm not saying like me, I'm a big figure, I'm saying like the campaign for the second referendum, I feel like it might have pushed us into the situation we're in now. I don't know if you feel the same way.
In what sense? Sorry, what do you mean by that exactly?
Well, by eliminating the prospect of, you know, settling for something that was a compromise, or, you know, was a close affiliation with the EU, we're still out of it, but, you know, we might still be in the customs union. Instead of saying, yeah, okay, we'll take that, and going for hell for leather, no Brexit is acceptable, we have to go for a second referendum, that has then pushed us into a political space where, you know, the people reacted to that, saying you're trying to cancel the will of the people, etc. And it sort of solidified and hardened the base that voted for Johnson.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I didn't think of it like that. That is a very.
It's easy to say. It's easy to say with hindsight, obviously, you know, but.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is. But it is a good point. Perhaps that did contribute to it. Yeah, I agree. But, you know, we would have done the same thing, wouldn't we? We'd have said, no, we want another referendum. It was so shockingly corrupt and obvious that, you know, the Leave campaign had absolutely no ideas at all. I mean, it was just like the Leave campaign. You can imagine the Leave campaign's like an empty shop. And, you know, people are queuing outside waiting to buy the groceries, and there's nothing in there. And they're in the back panicking. Fucking hell, when's his stock coming? When's it coming? I'll just go outside, just distract them, you know, just distract them. Oh, okay, all right. And then, you know, it's like, this is what's happened. It's just incredible. It's incredible. It's incredible. And, you know, the divisions will go on, as we both know, the divisions will go on and on for decades, I would imagine. But to a certain degree, quite rightly so, I hate people that voted Leave. I hate them. It's almost like a football team, isn't it? And I'm not a football guy, but Jesus Christ, you know, it runs that deep, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a really strong word to use, isn't it? Hate. Really strong word.
It is, yeah. It is. You know, if anybody I encounter who I know that has left, apart from, you know, the obvious, like your parents, who I don't think actually did vote Leave in the end, but, you know, I'll confront them about it, or I'll ignore them. I won't talk to them. And I know that's wrong, but this hatred guides, you know, it's a really strong emotion.
I've been thinking about what the pandemic has sort of highlighted in our political system and what that political system values. The sort of the activities that have been prioritized after the lockdowns, and the way that they all revolve around consumption. You know, spend your money, go to a restaurant, buy Christmas presents, but don't actually give them to your family, fuck the arts, fuck social contact. I mean, what have you learned during this process of isolation? Has it made things clearer in your eyes?
Yeah, I think it's made things clear in the sense that just go with the information provided. And because that is, I think, the best guideline. I'm not going to get too et up about the isolationism of it all, about the fact that I haven't seen anybody or shook hands with somebody for nearly 2 years. I'm just getting on with it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to panic. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to get paranoid. I'm just going to toe the line with it. But at the same time, what doesn't cost us anything is the car crash that is their handling of it, is the government's handling of it. It's a daily occurrence. You get to see that in real time. I think that is where any cause for criticism should go. Some idea about whatever's controlling us or whatever is not something people should be dwelling on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I meant more in a sort of in a way of whether it's crystallized your view of our political system or the monetary system, the way that we live was sort of what I was getting at with that question.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. My apologies. Kids are a little bit noisy. In the sense of, has it refined my perception of capitalism?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. But again, what am I going to do with that? You know what I mean? It's like, the ferocious beast that is Amazon. Most people I know around here are working for them. You know what I mean? They can deliver a parcel to your door within 1 minute of ordering something. Do you know what I mean? It's very sinister. It's ugly, but that's just the fucking way it is, isn't it? I don't think it's taught me anything else about capitalism that I don't perhaps already know or am suspicious of. But as I've said many times, I'm a complete player in the system. I love buying things. I love consumerism. I love being lured into spending X amount of money on a pair of fucking trainers. I like the fact that when I get up in the morning, if I've been searching for something, Facebook will then supply me with 8 other variations on that particular product. And in a way, I kind of like that. Has it come to the point where it's worked on me, it's cocooned me, and my life now is just sitting about, being teased by all of these things that I'm interested in the sense of, sort of purchasable products. You know what I mean? Yeah,
the lockdown has emphasised that, certainly for me. Something else that we've heard a lot of during this pandemic is sort of this sort of concept of pride in Britain. Our world-beating efforts in the war against the virus.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this question, I think, but are you proud of this country?
No, not at all. What is Englishness anymore? What is it? What is it that defines me? I don't know. I just live in a particular part of the world. I can no longer take any pride in the fact that I am connected to various subcultures or have experienced various levels of fashion within subcultures. I don't feel any kind of pride in that anymore. I used to think I was lucky, but I'm not lucky. Clearly, we live under a, we're obviously more privileged than a lot of people in the world, but we are still living on the grounds of the estate, aren't we? And we are still the servants of the family and the manor. You know what I mean? No, I don't feel any pride whatsoever. The exceptionalism from this country is just a lie, isn't it? We have basically murdered and robbed and raped our way across the globe. and made a lot of money out of that. And when you walk around Regent Street and you marvel at all the beautiful buildings, really, let's face it, they're all covered in blood. You know what I mean? There's no. I don't find any pride in this country, and I think what I find enjoyment in doing now is just hating those that have got a blind allegiance to the propaganda machine that has blown this country up in their eyes to some kind of fantastic marvel of utopia. It's largely all dog shit.
A key part of that propaganda that I feel like it's permanent, but it's sort of increased during the last year or so, is that sort of the constant invoking of World War II and the rhetoric and the concept. It's not. I think it's a myth, actually. Often the way we view that conflict, anyway. But these repeated references to the Blitz spirit and our darkest hour, and I, far from actually finding it encouraging over the course of this pandemic, I find it quite sickening, to be honest with you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to any survivors of the Blitz, and people would tell you that it was horrible. It was it was chaos. It was like the end of days. It was lawless. On top of that, you had the constant threat of being bombed. And I would imagine there was communities sticking together the same way they are now, not under any influence from the government or allegiance to a flag, but just out of basic human decency. You know what I mean? And also the war. If we look at our role in the Second World War, of course it was to be noted. But we were massively helped out by the Americans and the Russians and God knows who else. You know what I mean? So it's I think I don't want to spit on the lives of those that lost their lives in the war or in any war that this country's fought to a certain degree. But again, it's just largely bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah, and which sort of leads me to what you mentioned earlier about Keir Starmer, is whether you think he's been an effective tonic to that triumphalism and I guess also the horror of the pandemic. But again, from what you said earlier, I take it no.
Well, he doesn't exactly walk around in a Union Jack waistcoat, does he? You know what I mean? But at the same time...
at least he's got that going for him.
Sorry?
I said at least he's got that going for him. At least he's not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, he'll sit there with a televised address to the nation in front of a Union Jack flag. It's just nonsense. It's the last fucking thing we need. Somebody else supporting this image of nationalism, of patriotism, of a country. Do you know what I mean? It's we don't need that kind of leadership. I think it's nice seeing him in Prime Minister's Questions time, just absolutely going for Johnson. That's fine, but it's kind of where it just stands, though, isn't it? It's he's a big believer in the royals. Obviously, he's got a Sir in front of his name. I don't want to sound too obvious and say, he's just telling the lies just like the rest of them, because there are parts of that community that are to be noted, I guess, are intelligent, are looking beyond the realms of title, aristocracy, and the Windsors. There are, of course, they are, but you're just sick of seeing it. It's like, can't somebody who could potentially lead the country in a position of power just embody something that isn't that? Because it's clearly obvious that the human race, civilization, indeed the English people, English culture, it doesn't need that anymore. We've moved on. We have moved on in a large respect, but obviously we're not being allowed to move on. We're still under the shell of all that dog shit. Do you know what I mean?
So what does give you hope then? Or what has given you hope during this time?
Nothing really. I think my own positivity, perhaps, my own The fact that I've worked so hard for the last 7 years that we're able to live off savings at the minute to a certain degree. It's going to get tight in about another 6 or 7 months, I would imagine. We're going to apply for furlough. But the fact that I've been able to supply myself and the family around me, I mean, my wife's our manager, so she earns money as well. We've been able to supply a space around us to give us time to think and, process things properly. And that gives me hope. But apart from that, nothing else. Absolutely nothing in current politics. I just don't believe anyone. There's a couple of news outlets that I look at, Byline Times, a few other figures that are trying to, communicate some truth. But aside from that, the usual stuff that I'm into, I guess, music, a bit of exercise. These things are the things that are prolonging, a reasoned outlook for me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit bleak, I guess, but it's at least there's some positives there for you. Just before we finish,
I'm really sorry.
It's fine. No, it's fine. I was expecting it. Don't worry. Just before we finish, then, mate, a word on what we saw in America, and for anyone who hasn't seen, obviously there was this violent mob descended on the Capitol building in Washington, which is sort of where their parliament sits, the heart of American democracy. I just wonder if you think there are similar enough political forces that exist in the UK for something comparable to happen here. I mean, obviously, social media companies are here as well. They have a similar level of influence, but yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, we had a little bit of a go, didn't they, in the summertime?
I was there, yeah.
As far as, was you there? Was you? Fuck.
Yeah.
That looked like it was just a massive contingency of, kind of terrorist culture, ex-members of football firms, and general, sort of, individuals loosely connected to that kind of thing. I mean, from the footage I saw was just proper pissheads just going fucking mad at the coppers. I don't know if... I don't know. I just don't know. I don't see a lot of... Is there a lot of... what's the word? What's the fucking word? I don't know if they're sorted enough to get it together to do something like that. Or I don't even know if the powers that be would... Yeah, organised, that's it. From what you got from the thing on Wednesday was, the security around the property initially let people in, and it went like that. But I'm not even sure our gatekeepers would allow the scum to go in there. I don't think they'd trust them enough to do anything like that. I think there's still the castle and the moat and the land, isn't there, in this country, where I think, what we saw on Wednesday last week there was a complete, people were mobilised, you know what I mean? I'm not sure if there is that here. I think the people at the forefront of these organisations in this country, I don't think they're able enough. I mean, who have we got? Yaxley, Lennon, I don't know any of the other people underneath him. They're probably a little bit more sharper, but I mean, I just can't see anything happening like that here, because I don't think the elites would trust the scum underneath them enough to do that. They like their little properties too much, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, mate. The album Spare Rib is out. I think it's the 15th of January. So this week. Yeah. Where's it available? Yeah. Where can people buy it? Tell them.
The album's everywhere. It will be. I mean, you can go to our website, sleafordmods.com, order it there. Rough Trade Records, independents scattered across the country. If you've got an independent record shop in your city or town, it will have it in there. So just get down there on Friday or go and pre-order it. But yeah, I think the main thing is really to try and support the independents more than anything else at the minute, because I really don't know how a lot of them are surviving, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, thanks for your time, mate. I appreciate it. Take care.
No worries, Ollie. Take care. Bye bye.